And we're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by James Dean, creator of XXX-Mas, XXX-Mas, which I'm very excited about. I have a soft spot for Christmas horror films, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's so weird. Like I've tried to like push myself to be creative and like come up with ideas sometimes, and when I push myself, like nothing good comes of it. And the idea just like dawned on me, and I was like, oh my god, like I love Christmas horror, and right now everybody's doing Christmas horror, so maybe that's it's either a good sign or a bad sign. Like standing out from everyone else is going to be hard, but there's so many small things I can't talk about the film that make me so excited, that definitely make it stand apart from other ones that I've never seen in a Christmas horror film before. So it's tough to navigate my excitement versus how much I talk about some of these things that I'm not going to disclose, you know?
Right. Well, there's two things there. The fact that there are so many means that people like them. So that's good.
Right.
But
true.
like you said, you also want to stand out.
Yeah.
It's like a zombie movie. You know, you want to do something different. So what kind of film is XXX-Mas? Because Christmas horror movies, they can be silly. They can be very gory. So what's like the tone?
So for me, I think deliberately trying to create like a B movie is so tough. I think treat it like you're making a real movie, a serious movie, but then make what's on the paper, some of the dialogue, some of the moments funny in themselves. One thing that I'm completely fine with disclosing is like Santa's weakness in this is milk and cookies. 100%. Right. It fucking makes sense, right? Like that's a real thing. Why wouldn't we, take advantage of that? But I mean, the characters, I try to make the characters as real as possible. I try to give them dialogue that would make sense for those characters. Everyone has different motivations and everyone has a different, background. So I try to flesh out the characters, like not just give the actors what's in the script. I try to write backgrounds for all of the characters, even characters that are only on screen for 2 or 3 or 4 pages. I try, in my head, that character has a background. I write something up. So like approaching it in a serious manner with doing the best job possible, but then kind of making the dialogue and some of the moments kind of over the top. I think that's where the magic kind of the mix of both worlds comes into play.
Well, I agree totally. If you go out and try to make a campy movie, to me, it almost always fails.
Yep.
Because the campy movies that we grew up liking, like you said, they went out, they tried to make their best movie, and it's still entertaining. But it might be the budget might not be there, whatever. But you could see that they were trying, and like their enjoyment and their passion comes through.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch my first movie, Fontaine, the Vengeful Nun Who Wouldn't Die, just the premise alone tells you what you're in for.
I think the name alone,
yeah, right. That was the idea. I had people telling me, "Oh, the name's too long, this and that," and I'm like, you know what? Like, it's a pure tribute. Like, I want people to know right away, the poster and the name, you know what you're in for, right? You know, and like when you turn this on, you should know what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
It's like a tribute to exploitation films, and like even still. I almost killed myself making this movie. Now, I didn't do it by myself, of course. I had like up to 40 something people help me on that project, but I did my absolute best on it. Even in the moments where things don't quite work, I tried my best. I know everybody involved tried their best, and there's moments where someone gets decapitated. We didn't have a couple $1,000s to have a pour on someone's face to have like a mold. So it was a cheaper head. So we shot it from behind, and it kind of looks stupid in retrospect, but we knew going in, that's what we had we could either do that or we could do CGI. And I was like, I'd rather stick with as much practical effects as possible. That's kind of, there's an authenticity to it.
Something I say on the show is even bad looking or cheap practical effects has a charm to it, where bad or cheap CG to me just looks bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a naysayer when it comes to like CG. I do think CG has its place, especially when used in conjunction with practical effects. Right. There's tons of moments in films where people don't even realize that they're watching CG because it's so good. But all the bad CG stands out so much, and it just like hits you in the face like a fucking frying pan that it's like because of that, you it gives that bad taste in your mouth. You don't
Well,
want to
like
see it.
Jurassic Park still holds up, and that's a combination of like models. I know it's a giant budget, but still,
No,
it's a
and
combination of different things. It's
it's
not just all CG.
it's 30 years old also.
Right.
That's what that was why I made that face, because it's 30-year-old CG and it still holds up so well.
Yeah, because a lot of movies from that era, a little bit after, that were huge budgets, they don't hold up to CG. You can
No.
tell that they look very poor, even like giant budget movies.
Yeah, if you look at the Lawnmower Man, like the virtual reality world that they create, it's like if you go back and watch that now, it's kind of, I mean, I'm not making fun of the movie. I like the movie, but
Yeah.
the virtual reality world they created, it's so bad. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And there's something, I mean, like, that's what they had. That was also around 91 or 2, I think. That's what they had available. That's what they could do. But still, I prefer practical effects when possible. Sometimes they're not possible, but
Right.
whenever I can, I'm always going to push everything to practical effects, not just because that's what I prefer, but it's also so much less of a pain in the ass in post-production, if I'm being honest.
Do you do your own editing?
So I do edit my films. I edit them, and up to now I color grade them also. That might be something in the future I start handing off to someone else. I like editing them. It helps me to shape the film the way I want to see it. It's a weird thing because you really have to shift your mindset, because you can get so super attached to what was shot and how much effort and time it took to shoot it, and you have to detach yourself from that and remind yourself that now it's about telling the story in the best way possible, not what it took to get those shots, but so you really
or even just like maybe it was fun doing it or something, or you know what I mean. Not everyone watching it was there, so they won't know that.
Right, yeah. I always compare it to kind of like an attorney that has that represents themselves. They have a fool for a client, right? Like it's a very tricky. I don't think everybody can edit their own stuff, and I think there's times where even I have to step away from it for a couple of weeks and then come back. It helps to step away from things and come back at a later time.
Yeah, my experience from doing the show and being friends with independent filmmakers, a lot of the ones who are the most successful at editing their own stuff are editors by trade. So they have a better idea of how to look at it as just like, I'm going to edit this. To make the best like stories, like you said.
I started editing my second film we shot, our second film that we shot over the summer. And I am so shocked at how much easier, I'm about halfway done with it. It's so much easier going into the second film as opposed to the first one. Like, it's been so much smoother, just be like, you learn like what coverage you need that'll make everything just like, it's just, it's just been so much smoother. There's no other way to put it.
Right. So what was your background in, when you did your first movie? Did you have any background in filmmaking?
I made about, I would say between 8 and 12 short films. I guess it depends on what you consider a short film. We had one short film that I felt really confident about. That was kind of like a prequel to Fontaine. It was like a 16-minute short, and it was about a nun with an eye patch and a katana. And I liked how that turned out, but it was the first time I worked with a DP. It was the first time I worked with more people and was trying to tell a bigger story. I had someone write the script. I didn't write it myself. So then we stepped in. So we were just going to make another short film actually. And then I started looking at what the budget was going to be. And I was like, let's just make a feature instead. And it got out of hand pretty quick. Like, yeah, our first film, like the budget tripled because of all these great big ideas that I had that, I mean, with no money, it's hard to do anything,
Right.
But yeah, so, going in, I didn't touch a camera until I was about 35. I'm 42 now. And then part of the idea behind it was to network with other filmmakers or people that were in that realm and get more experience. I started shooting weddings. So I started teaching myself cinematography, but I was getting paid to do it as opposed to like going to a school. I've actually worked with people that have went to several film schools, and sometimes it blows me away by the lack of knowledge they have just about cameras, because they're in film school, but they're specializing in writing. but they have no idea what like a couple, 3 or 4 different functions on a camera do. And it doesn't matter what camera you're holding, they're all pretty much the same once you figure out what the basics are,
Yeah, a lot of my friends who make films, a lot of them, didn't go to, most of them, I would say the majority didn't go to film school, and they learned on sets of films, maybe not ones they were making, but even a lot of people I know who worked for Troma, they said that was like their film school was working on a Troma movie. They made no money, but they, they get to know people and they just get to see how a film is made.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, like being on someone else's film set and making no money would still be miles ahead of me spending $40,000 on my first feature and making $3,000 back on it over the period of 9 months, Yeah. But I do see a way forward where I could end up breaking even on that. I mean, we're talking 10, 15 years. We're talking long haul. And I knew going in, I wasn't expecting to make the money back. I had a number I had hoped to pull back so I could throw that into my next film. But even again, if you break down what film school cost and you break down 4 years of film school, you're not going to find a film school.
There's no guarantee after you do that. It's not like a lot of other degrees, like, oh, maybe I can go into this field. There's still no guarantee you're going to make a movie after you go to film school.
And there's also like that's the thing. Like at the end of my $40,000, I had physical media. I had a feature film that was streaming on major platforms. When you go to film school, they're not teaching you the ins and outs of how to find distribution or like how to get your film seen by anybody, or the marketing, which is a whole nother thing. That's like the side of filmmaking that a lot of people, including myself, wait too long to learn, and it really hurts them. It's something I'm still learning, Yeah.
Well, it also changes all the time because, physical media starts to go away. Then it was the rise of streaming, and then even that changes.
Yeah, definitely. What platform you want to be on will change every, I'd say, 3 to 5 years based on what I'm seeing other filmmakers who've been around for 10 or 15 years, what they say. Mm-hmm. The best ones for the filmmaker versus the viewer is also not always going to be the same. Like ease of access is a big thing right now. And I mean, like some people crap on it, but Tubi is easily the best paying.
That's what everyone I know says. Yeah.
It's the best paying service, and it's also ease of access is nice because you can get it on pretty much any smart TV, and all TVs are smart at this point.
Yeah.
And you have to watch ads. That's the downside. But even that, when you are more hands on with it, and I used Film Hub, which is an aggregator to put my film up. When you do that, you get to choose within a reason where the commercial breaks go. So you can have a lot of control over these things. You just have to know what you're doing, or figure it out on the fly.
And it was not that long ago, like all the people I knew, Amazon was great, but that like totally, crashed for independent filmmakers. A lot of them can't even put their things up there anymore.
Yeah. No, Amazon used to pay amazing. And like you said, so Tubi is the spot now. And then in 5 years from now, I bet Tubi's not the one. And maybe they are. That'd be awesome. But I bet they're not. They'll probably get enough viewers and enough people like tuning in, and then they'll start maybe doing their own original content or whatever. I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic, and it's always shifting. You just have to be ready to pivot, I think.
So XXX-Mas, how do you say it? Do you call it XXX-Mas or XXX-Mas?
I just call it XXX-Mas, yeah. And I usually say it so fast that I trip over my own words.
Right. I think either one works, because you could say a XXX movie or anything. Yeah. So the crowdfunding now. If the crowdfunding, we hope, obviously you wanted to get the money you're asking for, but if it doesn't get the go all the way, are you still going to make the movie?
I don't know if we'll be able to. I kind of set the film up in a way where it's budgeted with, especially the practical effects. Like it's expensive to do those right. So if we don't reach the goal, the option we have is to extend the campaign, and you can extend it up to 30 days. But again, I think the most I would extend it is probably 7 days. I do have a potential pretty massive cast announcement coming up, so I'm holding off on that. I don't want to jump ahead and say something that's not guaranteed, but we're in talks with someone that would probably also help elevate its exposure a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, even the people we have involved, don't get me wrong, like Drew Marvick, he's a indie filmmaker and actor, and he's just freaking amazing. Like he played, I don't know if you Pool Party Massacre. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I'm
know,
like,
but yeah.
yeah. So, he's a cool guy. Yeah. And then we have
He's
Jessa
got a great
Flux.
beard for Santa.
He, dude, I cannot grow facial hair. Like it gets patchy. I'm Joe Dirt over here, right?
Right.
And so like I have super beard envy with Drew.
Uh-huh.
There's no doubt about that. But we have Jessa Flux, we have Morgan Thompson, and we have so many other people that are. We have Dolly Lee, who was a former adult actress in the actual industry,
Mhm.
and this is going to be her first film. So it was kind of important to bring people in that had experience in the sex work industry. They could bring an authenticity to it, and they also, especially Dolly was great at giving me feedback on the script. I wrote the first draft, and then I handed it off to my co-writer, and he's been working on it because I can only do so much. I'm running an Indiegogo campaign. We're in pre-production, setting up everything, looking at locations. And my co-writer Lewis, I worked with him on my first film, and he's amazing. And he actually went to school for writing as opposed to me. I just sat down and started writing. So he's really good at like tightening things up and just making everything better, But we took a bunch of Dolly's feedback, and we were like, yeah, clearly this needs attention, or maybe this isn't exactly what it should be. Because like the thing that's a bummer is like a lot of people see sex workers and they just kind of see them as a commodity, and they're not. We're all humans. It doesn't matter. It's not the same. I'm not going to say it's the same. I have a janitorial company. That's what I do to make a living. And I have had people encounter me and treat me like a piece of shit, or they look at me like I'm someone that just empties their trash or scrubs their toilet, which is true. That is what I do. But that's not who I am, and that's not what defines me. And it's okay that I do that. And the same thing fucking applies to sex workers, like they're human beings. They're providing a service. There's lots of people that seem to be interested in it. So why are we dehumanizing them? Why are we treating them? Like it just doesn't make sense.
A lot of the people who actually spend their money on that are the ones who dehumanize them, which I always find very odd.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic for sure. But like you see all these comments, especially online, where people get super confident in themselves. They become the strong man in the online world, and they think they can just say whatever they want, and it's just anyway. So there is a little bit of commentary with the film, but ultimately on the surface what you're going to get is a killer Santa who's had a breakdown. We won't disclose why he had a breakdown, but he had a breakdown, and he starts targeting adult movie stars on a porn shoot, and it's pretty crazy. Like I find inspiration, like I love Splatstick. Like I love the movies like Dead Alive, Brain Dead, like Peter Jackson's movie.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite movies of all time. When that guy comes in with the lawnmower, yeah. And there's so many other parts. So like with Fontaine.
Cheap plug, he's been on the show.
What's that?
The cheap plug for the Without Your Head. He's been on the show, not Peter Jackson, but the guy with the lawnmower.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's too cool. That's too cool. When we made Fontaine, I told Lewis, because he helped me write that. I said, we have to fit in. I mean, we have a nun with a katana killing people. We have to fit in the words, "You kick ass for the Lord."
Right. Like, I tried to get him on the show too. But didn't. But that's a great line. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and how many movies are you going to make where you can actually make that work?
Right.
I mean,
where it's not just stuck in there, and it doesn't really fit into the movie.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking to a nun that's killing, gang members with a sword. I think we can make this work, I think it worked well. The funny thing is that the people that said the line and the people that were in that scene had never seen the movie. And I think it actually works better that way, because they didn't know they were paying homage to something that I absolutely love. Yeah. And so they didn't like push that line harder or try to step into it or emphasize it or make it funny. They just played it straight.
Yeah. And something like that, because not everyone watching is going to know it either. So it has to work on both levels. Someone who has no idea and it just is funny, and people who do know it's an extra little bonus for them.
Yeah. No, definitely. But like, I take so much inspiration from like Jackson's earlier work. I mean, Bad Taste and Dead Alive, and this isn't Jackson, but like Evil Dead 2. Like, I was talking. So I have Derek Worley. He's a FX artist, and he's worked in tons of indie film. and dude is amazing. And when we were talking about it the first time on the phone, he was telling me that he wants to make it like his goriest film ever. And we were talking about, how many gallons of blood we would need. And right now we're like between 10 and 12, which is, it's a good, we're not on Evil Dead levels, but I mean,
Right.
we have a much smaller budget, so we can't make it rain blood.
Uh-huh.
If I could, I probably would. I'm going to be honest with you.
Right. Well, send some money into the crowd. Yeah, get some blood.
Yeah. Our goal is to make it as gory as possible with some of the most like crazy kills and blood spraying everywhere and necks being broken and heads being ripped off. And yeah, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And I think that's going to appeal to a lot of the gore hounds and the people that love the classic like 80s feel, practical effects.
Yeah, which is really, that's really made a comeback, I think, because a lot of people who grew up with that are at the age that they make their own movies now.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing, I never try to be negative or like talk down on anybody else. And the one thing that I think some filmmakers miss, and I'm sure I do it also, is they try to recapture something they saw when they were younger. I don't try to recapture something I saw when I was younger. I have tons of inspiration. Tons, but I'm not trying to typically, now there's a couple instances, but I try not to like recreate it like beat for beat, because I have so many disadvantages against me. One, I'm not Peter Jackson. Let's be honest here, and that movie has 30, 40 years worth of being around for people to check it out. Mm-hmm. But like using certain things that they used in a new fashion and telling my story the way I want to tell my story, I think that's the way to do it. Like, it's like discovering a new color and then using that color to create something new, instead of just trying to create the exact same thing they did. That's how I describe it anyway. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I know. I think that makes sense and works. By the way, Brian O'Toole in the chat, producer of Dog Soldiers, he said, I would tell my screenwriting students that they are wasting their money at film school. Spend that money, buy a camera, and develop your style. Someone is going to buy Tubi and ruin it.
Yeah.
To be down there. But he also mentions crowdfunding is so tricky. I don't know who actually gets the money they need. Too many bad people have ruined it for legit filmmakers. But I don't know. I know of a lot of people who have funded their movies through crowdfunding.
I know 3. That's what inspired me to do it. I know 3 people. One's my co-host. But I think it's harder. And I think even in the last, 9 days, I've learned so much that I would have done differently at the start of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just here. I don't think it's, I do agree that there are some people who took advantage of people and that hurt. But another thing I think hurt is some bigger name people use crowdfunding who are like Rob Zombie. Nothing against him, but someone on that level who's made a lot of movies would use crowdfunding, and that would take up so much money that could have funded several movies by people who never would have a chance of making their own movie if it wasn't for crowdfunding.
Yeah. I mean, the same can be said about tax credits also, though. There was something that just came out that in Pennsylvania that M. Night Shyamalan was awarded like $5 million in tax credits that was supposed to be set aside to, like, from what I understand, like independent filmmakers. Well,
I always said that's a very broad term, independent film.
It is
low budget film, because it could be a $10 million budget is low budget, but everyone I know, that's like way beyond anything they'll ever make. So 10,000, 50,000, and then 10 million is a big difference.
I think the new term is micro budget.
Right.
And I think that's probably where most of us that most of the people I hang out with or know or talk to or interview, myself, we're all in the micro budget realm.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was at Fright Fest. The first time I was at Fright Fest, and I was interviewing, I won't say his name, but I really liked this movie, and I meant it was like a claymation movie, and I was like, this looks amazing, for your budget, because I assumed it was low budget because it's playing at a festival. And he was like, oh, well, it actually costs 50 million. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what? You spent 50 million on this, and you played at a which is cool. It's at the festival, but in my mind, I was like, oh, well, I guess it looks fine for that.
Yeah. It is weird that we hold a different set of standards, from like an independent film or a micro budget film to something that's made by Marvel.
Right.
Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Um,
do the same thing. I try not to say an independent movie is really bad if I think it's very bad, just because I know it costs like 10 grand or something. But if I
yeah,
go see
yeah.
a movie that costs hundreds of millions, and it's not very good, I don't really feel bad saying that's not a very good movie.
Yeah. In general, and it's been so hard, I try to always stay on the positive side of things.
I try
Even,
not to talk anyone out of liking anything they like.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's such a pet peeve of mine. Is like someone that comes and tries to like steal your enjoyment from something that, because like you're different than I am. You're gonna like different things than I do,
Yeah.
and like that's just and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because I also do a wrestling show, and that is huge in wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling fans who like hate other wrestling fans for liking wrestling. It's a very bizarre fandom. A&P Productions, congrats on the launch of the campaign. What kind of perks are being offered?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I have to say I know A&P Productions. That's
Okay.
Paul. And they currently have a film that's in post-production, Murder Size, that you should have him on. He and Angie, they're both amazing filmmakers, and some of the cast members that we have are actually in Murder Size. So
I know
yeah,
Murder Side. That's what because
that's
Kansas Bowling is in it.
that's correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
I
that's
just did a movie with Kansas Bowling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So some of the perks we're offering, everything from Blu-rays, DVDs, signed posters. We also have associate producer perks. You can actually be in the film. Screen worn wardrobe. For all the perverts out there, this is from the waist up, just to be clear.
Right.
Yeah, so we're looking at shooting in February, probably towards the tail end of February now, and our goal is to, of course, release it around next Christmas. That would be that. Yeah, I mean we're not going to release it in January of 2024.
Right. Yeah.
So that's our goal. Yeah, I think that's most of it. We do have an executive producer credit if someone wants to jump in and like really help out. But a lot of our, like, we also have VHS tapes that we're offering.
Oh, nice.
I think most of those are snatched up. I think we have one or two left. But yeah, so there's quite a few different options for people to check out.
As you tell from my banners, I'm a big fan of VHS, so that's good.
Yeah.
I don't even have a working VCR. I like the VHS.
I have a VCR somewhere, but I moved about 7 months ago, and it's in one of my boxes somewhere, and I never took it out. So yeah, I need to. I have a whole shelf back here of VHS. And actually, what's holding my microphone up
hidden over here, but this is the first VHS tape my mom bought me back in the 80s. Is a copy of Creep Show back there.
That's awesome. That's too cool. Yeah.
I don't think the tape works anymore, but it's a cool box. It's the old clamshell.
Yeah, that's okay. I've seen a couple people make wall art out of the boxes, and like I want to do that, but I also don't want to give up.
You don't want to ruin the box.
Yeah. So it's like I need a duplicate, but then I need like the best ones, duplicates. So I need two of It's tough.
Someone I had on recently was talking about that, and they were like, I think they were out in LA, and they said like a thing now is people use like old CDs for coasters, and like he just can't bring himself to put like a drink down on it, and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter, they're worthless, but it's still like he can do it. And he says thanks for mentioning Murder Size. So yeah, A&P contact me and we'll do something, because I'm looking forward to that. I know a couple people involved. Murder Size. Let's see. Brian wants to know if we've seen Scorned. I have not seen the movie
Scorned. I've heard of it. I've never seen it. No. Reality.
I guess that's a reality star cast. But I like that when you mentioned that has a social commentary, because that's always weird to me that a lot of modern fans will get mad if a horror movie has social commentary, because I think all genre since the beginning of time, even before this movies, almost all of them have social commentary in them. Like they might not be as obvious as others, but that's always been a way, especially like science fiction and horror, to talk about that, underneath the surface of the movie.
I think it's a very tricky thing to do, but for me, what I've found is I don't focus on it. I keep it as subtext, right? I still can make a gory film and a fun film and just fucked up film, because that's mostly what I'm interested in, but like still have the subtext, you know?
Yeah.
I think with Fontaine, I had one or two reviewers, one in particular, who noticed one thing that was I did very deliberately with that film, and only one person. And you know what? It still made my day that like he recognized it and he saw it, and what set it apart from like other nunsploitation films, you know? So I don't know. I think that's interesting, like being able to do that, and maybe people won't see those things, and that's okay too. I don't need to shove it down their throat, but it's still something I want to include. You have to, I think if you're going to make a film and you're going to spend a year or 2 years with it, you better have something that keeps bringing you back and keeping you invested in it, outside of just enjoying filmmaking and just outside of like enjoying the gore. Like there has to be some sort of tie to it, like emotional tie, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%, because you have to have the surface level just so you enjoy it as a movie. But if there's something else there, it's interesting. But like you said, you don't want to push it on. You don't want to preach to someone in the movie. It's still a movie at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone's going to see what they, like once you release anything, it doesn't matter, painting, poem, whatever, a story, a movie. Once it's out there, it's no longer really what your intentions were. It's how someone perceives it or takes it in. That's it's interesting. You can't make someone see something.
How did you actually go about casting the movie for the people you have so far? Like, did you send out, did you contact them specifically for the roles, or did you put something out there?
I did. And this is my third film. So a lot of the local people I had talked to about it months in advance. And I've worked with like Jonathan May. He's a stand-up comedian that's from St. Louis. And we've worked on 3 films before, we worked on 2 films. He had really small cameos. And then we worked on a short film together where he was the lead. And he was just like, I love working with him. He's extremely talented, and he brings levity every single time on set, both like on set and then with the character, he can make it funny. And so I wanted to make sure that I had him there. And I know Drew is hilarious also, but he's playing a menacing Santa with these one-liners. So I needed someone that could play off of that and be funny that wasn't menacing. And I knew that Jonathan May could do that. So because this is my third film, and because I kind of already have a relationship with a lot of people, like when I'm writing some characters, I'm writing them around the concept of this is who's going to play them for sure. Including this time, I was a little ambitious with a couple people, and we'll wait to see how that plays out. But I definitely had a few names that are recognizable in the horror industry that like I wrote the character around the desire that they would play the role, Yeah.
So your previous movies, I know that you said they're on Tubi, but did you put them right to Tubi? Did you go to festivals? What did you do with them after they were finished?
Festivals are a tricky thing for me. Like I don't feel like I have much of an ego, and I feel like festivals, and my opinion's changing on this. So, but I feel like festivals sometimes is just like a self-congratulatory, let's get in a circle and jerk each other off kind of thing. I don't need, and now I'm starting to come around a little bit and thinking maybe it's a good opportunity to network and meet other filmmakers. And so I'm a little more open to it. But the other caveat to that is if I do a year of film festivals, that's another year that my film isn't seen by anyone except film festivals, and there's the added expense of applications for film festivals, which are anywhere between $35 and $100 to apply. That's just to apply, not guaranteed to get in. And then if you're going to take advantage of the networking aspect, you have to be there, right? I mean, if you're not there, you're not networking. Your film could be there, but so no. The short answer is no. We did not submit to any. We submitted to like 2 festivals, and we did a premiere for Fontaine at the drive-in, which was my intention all along.
Oh, that's very fun.
Yeah, it was my intention all along because it was clearly a drive-in movie, 100% something that you would watch. It would be the B movie, but I didn't have an A movie yet. So my goal is the last film we made, which is in post-production. Our goal is to release that September of 2023. That if we do show again at a drive-in, that it would play first and then Fontaine would play second, and it would fill the spot of the B movie,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I currently have a movie in the festivals, and so it is a weird thing because you also have to know which festivals are worth submitting to,
Right.
because some of them will have nothing against them. There's just other filmmakers there, and then
Yeah.
there are some that there are actually a lot of people there, and also people that represent someone from Shudder is there, so
Yeah.
there's a lot that you have to look into because there are so many festivals right now. So some of them might not be really worth. It depends what you're looking for too.
Yeah.
If you just want, like you said, if you just want to go and meet other filmmakers, that's great too. But if you're actually looking to get distribution, then you have to look for something different.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a podcast called The Film Hacks, and we interview other filmmakers, and kind of part of the reasoning behind that was so that I could document the process of me learning over the period of making these films. My co-host also is a filmmaker, and then we could interview other filmmakers and see what their process looked like, and people could learn from our mistakes, and then we could learn from other people's mistakes and kind of just share it, and after talking to like 60, 70 filmmakers, I feel like my opinion on festivals has changed, but I don't know that applying to them is still in the cards.
It can
really
get very
tough.
expensive, especially. That's another thing, because
Yeah.
some of them you really, you can submit to them, but really you have to know like someone involved
Yep.
for your movie to actually get probably even seen, but get accepted.
Yeah, no, that's the factor. Also, I talked to a person that used to work for a distributor, and then he kind of went off and started doing his own thing, and then he is in the process of making a pretty well-known documentary right now that's kind of circulating, that's going to be coming out in the horror atmosphere. And he said that same thing, and he was 100% correct. If you don't know someone, a lot of times they watch the first 5 minutes, and it's not even necessarily someone that is going to make the decision. It's someone that gets to make the decision if someone else is going to watch it, and that person might make the decision. So you may not even be in front of the right person. Like you might just be in front of the gatekeeper of sorts.
And then unfortunately there are a lot of scam festivals out there, so you have to kind of look into them and see. Some of them don't even really play anywhere. Like they'll say they play and they just don't. And some of them you can just pay money to get an award, and there's
no, totally. Yeah.
It's a tricky thing. So what are your plans then for XXX-Mas?
With regards to
once you have it finished, you said you want to have it come out next Christmas, but like where?
That's the goal. Yeah. So I have two avenues that I am looking at with regards to distribution. So we went through Film Hub, and there's nothing wrong with Film Hub. I still do like Film Hub. I've also seen a lot of filmmakers go through Indie Rights, which is a very indie friendly, distribution company. I think what you end up with both of those is that the majority of the marketing is on you. So if you don't understand how to market it, or if you're not going to market it, you're going to fail. Like the chances of it doing well is probably not very, very good. I've also been recently introduced to a sales agent, which I have his information in multiple places, but for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. I just know Sean Burkett, who made Don't Fuck in the Woods.
Oh yeah,
told me about him. Yeah. And I've seen him posting around Facebook. So he's someone I'm definitely going to pursue with regards to at least getting more information about releasing it. I know I always have as a backup Film Hub. Like that's going to, I understand their process. I know their quality control checks. And so I know how to make a quality product. And I don't mean that it's flawless. I mean that like the poster design is done by someone that knows how to do poster design, so it looks professional. The sound design is not being done by my grandma in the garage. I'm paying someone to do it that does sound design. Like these things make a difference if you don't know how to do it. I don't do Foley recording. It's, I know a lot of independent filmmakers can and do a really good job. I'm not that guy. It just costs money. But like so having the polished product is the first step for me. And like I said, so either Indie Rights or a sales agent, I think either of those two would be really good options. Sometimes Indie Rights can also get you in other places, to other streaming services. I've heard this through the grapevine from another filmmaker who just shot and is in post-production in a pretty big for like what we're talking, towards the $80,000 range of film. So I know that there's a lot of possibilities. I think it depends on how much they believe in the product. Now we're talking art versus product. It's
Right.
it sucks. I hate calling it that, but you really almost have to view it that way if you're gonna market it.
My experience is usually, and this isn't, there's always exceptions, but usually someone who's more into the art aspect of a film knows less about the finances and the business world, and then people who are more on the business end are usually less artistic. So it's hard to have someone who knows both.
Right. And I would love to not do any marketing and not know anything about the business at all, because like that's my ideal goal, is to eventually just make the films and have someone help me and handle that. Like I want to direct and write and maybe produce, and then one day I want to help younger filmmakers and let them have their vision, but also guide them a little bit so that, if they need help navigating the distribution or navigating what may play better, there's so many small things that people don't think about. We talked to a couple of filmmakers that have worked with Asylum. And the one thing that Asylum does is when they write a script, when they have a script and they hand it over to a director, they already know in the script before it's ever shot what they need from that script, because that's the trailer. They have the trailer pre-planned in the script before it's ever shot. Like as a micro budget filmmaker, as someone that's just starting off, you don't think about those things. You make your film and you're like, oh yeah, now I need a trailer.
Right.
So you're already a couple steps behind. You're doing things kind of in reverse, like you're reverse engineering things. There's nothing wrong with that, but it always helps to be better prepared.
Brian also mentions, if you need a trustworthy distributor, hit him up. He may have some leads. Brian, like I said, producer of Dog Soldiers, which is a great film back in the day.
Okay. Oh, I love Dog Soldiers. You kidding me? Yeah, that's an amazing film.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of your favorite Christmas horror movies?
Me? I have a soft spot for Santa's Sleigh. I know it's not a great film necessarily, but that opening and like burning half a Fran Drescher's face off, when you have that voice coming at you, it's like, yes, come on, Goldberg.
yeah. I've had Goldberg on my wrestling show, and he was just named the ugliest Santa in films, which I thought was
that's interesting. No, what about that guy that was on Tales from the Crypt? No,
that's exactly. It's not really a handsome dude. Yeah, either one, the old movie, or the newer episode from HBO. Neither of them are very handsome. Yeah, Goldberg's much more ruggedly handsome than either of those versions.
For sure. And I mean, like, I just saw the original Black Christmas a couple years ago, but like, it's obviously a classic for a reason. It's phenomenal. Like, it's moody, and it's like, you never, they have that the first person point of view from the killer, and that, like, just, I don't know, and it works really, really well. But then when you put it in perspective to think how old it is, and like they were doing that back then, before now,
it's really influential movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and to think that the same guy, didn't he also? What else did he make? He made did he make that really like happy family Christmas movie also?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think A Christmas Story, right?
Yeah. Which is very strange.
Yeah. That's that's pretty funny. So I think those two are definitely up there. There was an Australian one that just came out. Better Watch Out.
Yeah, that's a really good movie.
That kind of mixes, Home Alone a little bit.
It's almost like an adult Home Alone movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, and as soon as I get off here, I'll think of 5 more that I love. But yeah.
No, what's for me for the Christmas horror is like there's legit really good ones like Black Christmas, and then even some of the goofier ones that aren't necessarily good movies, but they're entertaining.
Yeah. This is a conversation that came up in our Facebook group, which it was really interesting. I asked everyone what they preferred. Did they like the menacing Santa, or do they like the funny kind of comedic Santa? And most people kind of straddle both worlds, where they want the menacing Santa when he's on the hunt, when he's attacking, right, but then they want the comedic relief afterwards with the one-liners, And And I think that that's definitely when I was writing the first draft of XXX-Mas, that's definitely what I was going for. Like full out, just ruthless killer. But then let's pause for a second because we need to have a little laugh before we get back into the serious, grotesque nastiness that we're putting on display here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned poster art. Who did the poster art for XXX-Mas? Because it's really awesome.
Yeah. So Holly Matney did it. She's on Instagram. I could find her handle here in a second, but she also did our Blu-ray cover for Fontaine, the Vengeful Nun Who Wouldn't Die, and she does great work. You know, it's based off of a real photograph that was taken of Drew Marvick. So on Insta, she's just at Holly Matney, HOLLIEMATNEY. She's done quite a few like t-shirt designs and Blu-ray covers and all kinds of poster work and whatnot. But yeah, I've you know, we've had her do a couple things for us. We also use someone I have to bring up also is Chris Barnes with Brutal Posters. He does phenomenal work. I know he's done A&P Productions, a couple of their films. He's definitely going to be doing some posters for me in the future. Yeah. Again, back to having good key art, man. Like a pet peeve of mine is when you go and you pay $10,000 or $5,000 for a name for 1 or 2 days, and you can't pay an artist $600 to $800 to design a really good killer like poster for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's your calling card. You know, like. Yeah.
I assume in the near future we're going to see a lot of AI poster art with all this AI.
Definitely. Yeah. I definitely you know, I see that happening a lot. The one thing that I mean, it's getting so good, and now you can feed in prompts that are like
I want to not like it, but I can't deny a lot of it's very cool looking.
Oh, I love a lot of it. I even was part of Midjourney for a couple months, just looking for inspiration through prompts that I would feed it and just to see what it could do. I love. It's hard because when you're an artist and you're self-financing, especially, or you're working with such a limited budget, you know, I get that you want to not spend as much, but I also want to support other artists as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I try to always, you know, and I think that's going to be a thing that I'll just continue to do. Plus, I think it's much easier to work with a real human when you want revisions, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But one thing I wanted to bring up, we do have a Facebook group, XXX-Mas movie group is what it goes by on Facebook. So you could follow it there. That is the easiest way to get updates. We post things there usually before we post them anywhere else related to the film.
Yeah, I'm more of a fan. I know I have all the social medias because you have to kind of have them all, but I'm more of a Facebook guy.
Yeah. I spent so long on Twitter, and I don't hardly get any engagement anymore. I mean, like I do sometimes, but it's not that great.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating knowing what will resonate with people, but not wanting to. I want to say sink to that level of like just being negative all the time or those hot takes, which is what seems to be what gets the clicks, you know? Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's harder to have actual conversation on like Instagram's cool, but I don't think there's really much conversation there. It's mostly just this is a cool picture, but you don't really sit there and talk very much.
I'm definitely new to Instagram. It's something that I've had for a handful of years, but I just started using in the last year. And then like TikTok, and there's so many things, you know, and I think
I just got on TikTok.
Yeah. I had someone that's running a couple social media accounts for me. She's a producer on the film, and Alice, and she runs the Slasher account and she runs the TikTok account because I just don't have time, you know. It's just, you know, running all these other things and trying to still put out content.
I run all mine, but it seems almost like I'm just posting the same thing on 5 different websites. What's really the point of this? But
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, even like those social media managers, they're like $100 a month minimum to like keep everything rolling. And I guess at some point it's worth it. I just don't know if I'm quite there yet.
Yeah, I understand. So Triple Xmas, you have the website. I'm calling it Triple Xmas.
Yeah.
You can call it XXX-Mas. I don't know which one. You maybe put that as a poll, Triple Xmas or XXX-Mas. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I'll have to use that later this week. Yeah, no, there's you can go to the Indiegogo site.
Which I like. You have xxxmasdo.com and it'll bring you right there.
Yeah, for sure. It's xxx-mas.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll take you right to the Indiegogo. And yeah, like there's tons of great perks, man. And there's also, if you don't see something that you've seen on other, Indiegogos, message me, and we'll see. There's secret perks, there's perks I can add. I'm open to most reasonable things as long as it's respectful and not going to be, we're not having people on set during like nudity, when nudity is being shot, and anything that's safety related, it's not a negotiable for me. But everything else is pretty reasonable, like screen worn wardrobe, and we even have movie props, like some of the knives we'll be using and so forth. Yeah, and yeah, I'm thinking about adding like some of the prosthetics we're going to use for some of the characters, so you can kind of have some of the gore that came from the film itself, which would be kind of cool. Yeah.
Is it the same FX team like that you've used on your previous films?
So I've had Hannah Richard work on my first two films, and they will be back, but they'll be working with Derek. Derek is definitely taking the lead on this one. Hannah's worked on 3 or 4 films, 2 of which were mine, and they have done a great job. But the last film in particular, which wasn't super heavy on gore, but had quite a bit, it was too much for one person. The one day they ended up being on their feet for 11-12 hours straight, and then I found out at the end they didn't even get a chance to eat lunch, and like I knew that we were, you can't do that to people. I didn't know that. I was too busy handling my own thing and dealing with things, and like I never want that to be a scenario. So I knew having Derek involved would also elevate what we were capable of, because he can do a lot of pores and molds that we haven't had access to in the past. So we can incorporate the gore. We have a bigger team, so we can do more gore, and then we can do more overall because he has the experience of working with more materials, so it's kind of nice. We can do more customized kills, if that makes sense.
So the kills, are these things you've thought about like over the years?
Yeah, so I was talking to someone who's working on the film, and she's just acting in it, but she also has a little bit of background with some makeup. And she was telling me, so to partially answer your question here, she has a kill journal.
Oh, really? That's
which I had never thought of that. And I was laughing. I was like,
I
need to do that.
Sounds like a person. Yeah, I'd like to know.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, why have I never, like, I have kills in my head from other projects we haven't used.
Right.
So some, yes. And some, as I was writing, it just seemed so natural. Oh, of course Santa would kill someone this way. Or of course, in this moment, this is the death, like this person has to die this way. But there have been a few that I've had for a while, that we just maybe didn't have the means to accomplish them, And there's some that are, they're going to be used in a new way, but they're clearly inspired by some of my favorites, Very
cool. All right. So XXX-Mas.com will bring you right to the
Indiegogo. Yeah.
Indiegogo. And here we've got a sex bot in the chat. This is a sex bot, not a sex worker. So we'll ban them here in the chat. But go there and you can donate and help get the movie made. You can be in it. You can be a producer. You could get cool stuff.
Yeah, there's tons of Blu-rays available. VHS, DVDs. There's all kinds of options. Yeah,
very cool. And I'm looking for. I have not seen your previous films, and I'm gonna check them out because I'm very curious.
Yeah. I think you'll have fun with Fontaine. It's an adult movie with some adult content. You don't want to bring your kids to watch this film.
I have no kids. So you don't have to worry about that.
Well, there you go. No concerns there.
Right. I saw the trailer when we were setting this up, and I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to Triple Xmas, not just because you're here, but I like Christmas horror, and you seem like a good guy, and it sounds like a fun movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped to work on this, man. Like, just the people involved. It's an amazing team, both behind the scenes and in front of the camera. And I think some of them everybody involved has such like charisma. It's going to shine through in their performance. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And I want to thank you for coming on. And maybe we can do it again when the movie's out.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I have music of the month to play here. Theophobia we're gonna play that, and then we'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow, actually. But thank you for doing the show.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. You can stay for the movie music if you want. You don't have to, but here we go.
Dad was a tad insane. I knew him for years, but he never remembered my name. He'd fall, I'd tell him count to 10. Keep on counting, but he's never getting back up again.
You broke the law. Of your silence, but all you ever do is talk. Son, you're getting 5%. Well, you'll be up for parole, but you're never getting back out again. You're like the inside of a lava lamp, always burning, always burning. You're the god of war. What are you fighting for? What are you fighting for, my love? What are you fighting for, my love?
Man, I think I'm in a jam.
Well, I had a dream when I didn't know who I am. You're a crook, you're a cop, you're a bad piece of work. You're insane, the flame, you're a dick and a jerk. And I said, why? Cause I'm tired of you. And I know you hate it when we're screaming and there's nothing we can do. It's like the time we went to the puppet show. Always punching, always lunging. You're the god of war. What are you fighting for? What are you fighting for, my love? What are you fighting for, my love? Times you'd be running with a knife, but you're the god of life. Take my final advice, take my parting advice, my love. Love thy neighbor and you'll be loved.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being in the chat. And I'll be back tomorrow with the director of Scare Package 2, which is playing right now on Shudder. I mean, right this second. So go